Hello, I'm Dr. Terry James Gingrass, and this is Dr. G's ADHD class, a show trying to make the world safe for ADHDers. I am a clinical psychologist and neuropsychologist uh, with about 40 years, a little over 40 years of experience with ADHD before there was an ADHD. And I'm also the parent of an ADHD child, maybe two. And I am currently in private practice with a big coaching practice. I coach a lot of ADHD executives. Anyway, so I am also, I have a postdoc in neuropsychology, but I also have one in what's called behavioral medicine. And this is, mind body kinds of things, how your mind affects your body and can either make it very happy or a not so happy place to live. So one of the things we learn in that is a lot about biofeedback, relaxation training, and so on. And another thing, I have a bunch of years experience working with hypnosis, and I also have a bunch of years working with sports psychology, which is basically trying to keep your mind from screwing up your athletic performance. Uh, anyway, so what's that got to do with ADHD? Well, a whole bunch, actually. Uh, ADHD is one of the things it's characterized by is what they call emotional dysregulation, which is just a fancy way of saying they have temper tantrums and let their emotions get control of them. And another thing is, most of the things that ADHD does to you, if you will, how they interfere with performance, can be affected somewhat positively. I mean, by knowing how to do relaxation training. Okay, I'm going to start off. I'm going to do a few of these shows in a row, but the first one I'm going to talk about is what breathing focus relaxation training, and that's basically ADHD that I mean relaxation training that focuses on your breath. Okay, now we don't think about it, but breathing basically controls all your emotional feelings. Um, it's you think about every emotion as a breathing pattern. If you hear somebody going, you're pretty sure you've got anxiety. And if you're standing in line at a movie theater or something and you hear somebody behind you going, you probably want to get out of the line and let him go ahead. Maybe call a cop. I'm not sure, but you're breathing the way you breathe, and in some school systems in Germany, the Norway, Finland, Sweden, they teach breathing and breathing relaxation stuff in school. Uh, in America, of course not. We don't do that. We're independent, ornery, uh, pioneer types. But breathing poorly, and that's just not knowing what you're doing. Like people do pretty well with breathing until they hit puberty, and then they start worrying about how their tummy looks and if it's flat and all that stuff. So they don't let your belly do the natural things it does when you breathe normally, when you breathe what's called diaphragmatically. And that's why some people are more prone to anxiety and panic attacks, because their breathing patterns are way out of whack. The big thing you got to worry about in breathing, and I don't, you should breathe normally, and it shouldn't be something you worry about a whole bunch. But the way the system is constructed, it's easier for you to exhale than it is inhale. Okay, that's how come you can blow up a balloon. Uh, but there's a problem with that. If you don't regulate the exhalation, you will get hypoxic. That you'll blow off too much oxygen, and you can make yourself dizzy. I mean, you can do that in a heartbeat if you take about 3 fast breaths. You start getting a little lightheaded, and even in just that, I started feeling the top of my head started to float off. But that is what happens in spades with the ADHD kids, and plus if they don't know what's going on, you get scared. You start having anxiety, and you don't know why you're having anxiety. And you're close to a panic attack, especially if you've ever had one, and you don't want that. But basically, the problem is that ideally, in an ideal breath, your inhalation and your exhalation should be about the same length. Okay, when you exhale too fast, like I said, you blow off too much oxygen, and you get hypoxic. So the ways that you can use breathing, paying attention to your breathing to help relax, there are many. First of all, you ought to know how to do diaphragmatic breathing, okay? If you're not sure what the heck the diaphragm is, okay, basically it's a wall of muscles that separates your lungs from your gut, from your abdomen, okay? And when you inhale, your diaphragm relaxes, and allows your lungs to suck in air. And then when you exhale, your diaphragm goes up, and you exhale. Okay, now that's ideal. And if you notice people, singers, especially opera singers, trained public speakers, don't look at athletes. Most of them they do really horrible things in terms of using their breath to control their anxiety level. Like, have you ever seen in baseball, a batter has a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, almost hit him in the head. He hits the ground, and then when he gets up, the first thing he does is go. That ain't going to do it. That isn't going to help. That'll make you more anxious than you probably already are. Okay? The thing you want is that your exhalation is slow as your inhalation at least. Okay, and maybe a little slower. One of the ways that people can relax using their breathing and focusing their attention on their breathing is just, there are a variety of counting things, the different patterns, but I'm impatient and I don't like having to count all my breaths, so I rarely do that. But if you think in terms of making sure your inhalation and your exhalation are the same length of time, that is, you're inhaling, say, to a count of 4 is one of the things that's frequently used. It's, and then exhale. As long as you keep focusing on that, knowing you're going to get bored with it and you're going to wander off. And when you do, you just bring your attention back to your breathing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's, and there are other patterns. There are 4-part patterns, and I have a feeling that if you're trying to use your breathing to control anxiety, the last thing you need to do is get your obsessive compulsive part of your mind involved. So I never teach or do the 4-part kind of thing. The other kind of things you can do with breathing is use more of a mantra kind of thing. That basically all that amounts to is saying the same word or thinking the same word as you're exhaling. And it doesn't have to, it's nothing, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi made a lot of money in the 70s teaching this to the Beatles. But the basic idea, you don't have to have a special word, that's picked for you by a wise man. You can pick your own word or short phrase. You can use a short phrase, but everything you can just, go, love, love, gratitude, some word that's, not negative, kind of positive, God is love, I love my wife, whatever. It, honestly, it doesn't matter that much as long as you keep using the same one and don't keep changing it up. Use the same one every day. And that's the mantra way of working with your breathing exercises to make them relaxation exercises. Because all you're trying to do is get your brain focused or your mind focused on something that doesn't mean a whole lot or is not directed at any kind of problem that you're having. You want to get your mind off of the problems and just on God is love or I love my wife or whatever. Okay, other things you can do are like visualizations. You just imagine a relaxing scene. For most people, it's either the mountains or the ocean. And then you just go through all the senses, everything you can see, everything you can hear, everything you can feel. All just go through them slowly, and oh, I feel the sun on my shoulders and the top of my head. You feel the wind blowing against my skin. I hear the sound of the birds off in the distance. I hear the sound of the wind and the pine trees, so on. And it's just a calm description, no rushing, that sort of thing. The other thing to notice, especially if you're going to try to do this with your child, the quality of your voice is more important than the content. Okay? This has been researched a bunch of times, but basically, as long as you sound nice and calm, it doesn't really matter what you're talking about. Okay? So, you want your voice to be measured and calm, and your pace to be nice and slow. It's very hard to help anybody relax. If you're talking 90 miles an hour and your voice is all scratchy and high and all that sort of thing, you don't want that. You want a calm, relaxed voice and a good, nice, slow pace. And as long as you're steady, if you make a mistake, you say the wrong word, just keep going. Don't even pay any attention to it. Don't apologize, just keep going, okay? And you keep this up, you will be on stage doing different. Nah, I'm kidding. You won't be. Well, you could be if you want to, but voice control and regulation of the quality of your voice is something that we don't get trained about in school either. And that's why you have so many people with a real strained, silent voice, that's a little higher than it should be, and that's because they're trying to control it with their throat, whereas you should be controlling your voice with your diaphragm. Okay, a diaphragm gives you a diaphragm type breath gives you a voice that's calm, that's your natural relaxed level of your voice. But if you're always squeezing it up here in your throat, it'll sound strained and it'll make people uncomfortable. Although they probably won't tell you about that. But I will say, for instance, when I was in grad school, my first supervisor noticed that I tended to, my voice cracked sometimes. I mean, I was almost 30 years old, but and so he had all kinds of speech elocution lessons and sort of that stuff. Apparently his mother was a bit of a devotee of that sort of thing. So what we would do in each supervision session was we would spend about the first 15 minutes doing voice exercises, and then, I started working on that a bit, and doing a much better job of using my diaphragm to control my voice. And, like I said, I've had over 40 years as a psychologist doing talk therapy primarily, and a lot of hypnosis and relaxation training. And I have never missed a day because of laryngitis or sore throat or any of that stuff. So this stuff works. If you try to control it with your throat, your vocal cords end up rubbing together, and you get polyps and all sorts of stuff, and you get a lot of laryngitis. Anyway, so probably more than you needed to know about breathing focus relaxation training, but try it. Try it yourself first. Feel till you get comfortable with it, and then introduce your kids to it. And, you can do it individually or as a group or whatever. Just don't be self-conscious about it. Everybody does it. Every culture has a whole slew of these kinds of exercises that they use to get mellow, get in the mood, get calmed down, whatever. So it's not a big deal. And, it'll help you as well. Okay, as I said, I'm Dr. Terry James Gingras. This is Dr. G's ADHD Chat, and we're trying to make the world safe for ADHDers. Basically, we need them. We need people who think outside the box, who look at problems from unusual angles and come up with unique solutions. And so ADHDers are important, and we should take good care of them. Okay? Let's see. My website is terrygingrassphd.com. There are some sign-ups there if you choose to get on my mailing list. I'm also, I said I'm a coach. You can sign up. There are two ways you can do it. One is just to leave a message to me, and we'll get back with you. And the other is to, we have Calendly, which is one of those things that manages appointments, one of those pieces of software. We're still working with it. We're still learning it. So I will get back with you when I know more about exactly how it works. But I think it's something to do with calendly.com /Dr. Gingras. And that gets you my schedule, the openings I've left. Anyway, so either way, or just call me in my office, and like I said, I am semi-retired, so I don't go into the office every day anymore. But we will get back with you within a week or so. All right, I will catch you next time.